damn, because I'll wind up with kicking her door down or wind up with the off the hinges anyway, or she gonna wind up losing the whole damn door. So she might I'll just leave it unlocked, and that's how we work in this house. I will respect it if it's closed, but at the same time, if I ever want to walk up in here, understand I will, and I'm not gonna sit here having all y'all. That's her personal space. Yeah, it is, and I violated it, and I let her know I'm sorry. But at the same time, girl, if there's ever something where I'm not gonna have a daughter who thinks that she can bring some boy up in my house. She will always know. At any given moment, my mama can bust up in my room. Ain't gonna be no knock. There will be none. She's going to respect my house. So the people that sit there saying all this stuff, and I knocked and she didn't answer and I just gave her space, because your daughter gonna have that nigga in her closet, because your ass gonna be sitting there knocking, trying to wait for her ass to be nice enough to let you in. So you can be that parent, but understand, I'm Ruby Nail's grandchild, which means I'm coming up in there when I want to come up in there, and she's gonna understand that. So she's not gonna take those kind of chances with a parent like me. She might try to go somewhere else, but again, it's the boundaries that I set. She has curfew. She checks in. Like it's not something where my child can vanish, and she doesn't have that kind of. You say you gonna be weird, cool. Go FaceTime and let me see where you at. Let me confirm. Always confirm.
Close doors.
How old is your oldest?
Well, she's 13, so she can keep the door closed. She's 13. Her sister's 6. She's constantly gonna have the door closed just because that dynamic alone. She's not dealing with a young child, but at the same time. My daughter knows.
I didn't do closed doors. I didn't let my sons close the door. My kids had a lot of freedom too, though. Like, I wasn't a really strict parent, but I did have rules. I let them do what you will, but just know that if you do some dumb shit, there's going to be consequences. So my kids were able to run the streets and do whatever they wanted. But they also knew that I was crazy as shit. So if some shit went down, then do you want to deal with my crazy? Or do you want to make good decisions? Your choice. Like, I let my kids have girls come over, well, when they were in their older teens. But they also knew I sleep light. And there will not be no door closing. Keep your clothes on. And you don't know when I'm going to bust up in here. I might just do it every 5 minutes just because. But they also knew that I would embarrass the total shit out of them if shit went down. So they wasn't trying to be embarrassed.
I love my house the way it's set up. Everybody got to pass me to get to anywhere else they want to go. It's like, I'm like, where exactly are you going to have this company?
That's how the house is for me now. Like, you go in that hallway, this is my room, it's his room, it's the bathroom. So he got to walk right past where my room is for me to be like, yeah, okay. And he done already set it up in his mind. He wants the basement as his room, and I'm like, nah.
Mariah wants the she shit.
I don't think you're ever gonna forfeit in the she shit.
My daughter wants my she shit, and that's the room that's my room. That's the room I vibe in. It's a whole lounge. It's got any and everything you could possibly want in this room. So I understand she's allowed to have company in that room because I can lock my alcohol up. Otherwise, there is no company past my first floor. You will be in the she shed where I can sit there and watch you on the monitor the whole time you out there in my space to make sure that they don't do nothing in my space that is not allowed. Like again, to me it does come down to the parenting. Like we grew up with kids that we grew up with some of the strictest kids. Their parents were really strict. They lived across the street. It was a brother and a sister. And their parents was always on them, telling them stuff like they can't hang out with us. For whatever reason, they thought that they were so good that they couldn't hang out with us because of what they've heard and so it's like, yeah, okay, bet that.
That's probably the worst kids, huh?
She had several, not to say there's any kind of judgment on that, but she had several kids by the time we graduated. He was on drugs very badly, but by the time then, so it's just like, and the thing is, like I said, we were top of the class. My sister and I was, racing for valedictorian, salutatorian kind of thing. These were the kind of lives that we were living, and we're still there being judged across the street because of our living condition, because we're with our grandparents. Our parents aren't in the picture because of their history or whatever. So, so I get that, how people can kind of say, your history your parenting makes who you are. If I was still in the setting that I was with my parents, had that not changed and I've been with my grandparents, I would fear for y'all. I would be out here being the same person I was when I first touched down from California. The same person that Midas got his ass sent right back because they was like, oh, absolutely not. But if I would have stayed here being that person, I would be dead in jail for sure. Absolutely. I got in fights every other week. And all I wanted to do was prove that I can beat the shit out of a dude. So I was always challenging the women, like, I wish you could, because I'm going to show y'all first. Well, I'm going to show y'all how I beat the shit out of these dudes, and I'm going to wait for you women to dare you approach me, because that's just how I was. I was angry, and I was going through some different shit. So my grandparents did everything they could as I was a child. Y'all got the grandparents' influence when I'm grown. Like, y'all finally got this here is the product of Ed and Ruby's. Like, these are the work that they did to get me to be this person. When y'all see me spaz out on the internet, when y'all see me dare somebody to do this shit, to oppress me so I can beat the shit out you, that's when y'all see the product of that upbringing, because it's still there. You know what I'm saying? And that I blame my parents for a lot. I definitely blame my parents for the fact that I am still violent. I'm still that kid that'll snap off because I still got that kind of anger that's still here, that's never been addressed. So it's like I almost still have that in me where I'm daring someone at all times, because I've become that person that gets used to holding it in until I get a chance to physically let this out.
Yeah.
So some people choose sex. That would be nice. However, I'm not getting any right now. So
me neither.
Somebody gonna get the pause put on. That's what it's like. So it's like, I don't know. But again, that I think that very much is upbringing. I
punch throat still, so I don't know what y'all two talking about. I just want to punch somebody in the throat.
That's why I fought upbringing though. Like I said, if my grandparents are definitely this product. My parents are definitely the reason that I am prone to violence and prone to making some of the decisions that I make. But because of my parents.
I can understand that in a sense, because you, like, literally, that was my mother. Like, you know, her grandmother didn't believe, like, I a lot of times, because my grandma mean. If y'all ever hear me joke when y'all be like, I miss my grandma because your grandmother passed, and I'm like, oh, me too, and you're like, what happened to her? And I'm like, huh? Nothing. She just don't like us. You know, my mom came up in a point where, like, my grandma was real mean. I remember she would tell me stories about how my grandmother would try to feed them liver and weird things that my mom would run and call my great-grandmother, and my great-grandmother would call her my grandma and tell her, Gloria, don't you feed them babies, that's slave shit. And that was her bougie side, because my great-grandmother showed her, you know, like a different thing. Like, but it was, I've seen my mother, I've heard stories of my mother knocking out grown men convincingly, not, oh, I got to get this man up off me or he gonna hurt me. She's knocked out grown men convincingly, which is one of the reasons I've never pressed my mother in a way that it's like, I might get my ass beat the fuck up. Like, yeah. And she's one of those people that any time that I've gotten into a fight, it's like, you better go win that shit or you got to come home and fight me. And I'm like, no, she's knocked out niggas. I can't have that. Not me.
Yeah, that's how we was, because our parents we grew up in a karate household. Everybody was karate. That my mom and all her brothers knew karate. Therefore, all of us we learned horse stands and all those different things as far as for discipline when we got older. So the first thing I know, I learned the first time I was ever punched in my stomach was from my uncle. Damn. Stand there and learn how to. So it was like I'm telling you, like my upbringing is just a little bit different. Like the physical side of me is a different side of me. Like so thank God for Ed and Ruby, because the other side of me, that family is karate. They are Crips. they are Compton. I'm like, I swear to God, they are that side of me is the family that puts hands, and I want to say where's in my other family where Tika, if she tuned in, the Youngs, they're not. We are people that our parents are ministers. They raised us in the church and all of that. We will spit a scripture faster than anybody you could ever even think of. As far as clergy, we might as well have, you know, we've been there, done that. Church. But I'm telling you, we are violent. We are lit. We are about that life, and don't get it twisted.
With violence. I didn't see that, but I want to punch people in the throat. Like, I'd be angry, and I'd be like, you got kids. You can't do this. So I had to suppress my own shit just because I'm scared of the consequences. I can't do jail. I mean, I've been to jail, and they thought I was royalty, but that life ain't for me.
No, that's why you gotta legitimize it. Legitimize it. I still believe in fighting. Now understand, the next person who expresses they want to fight me, I'm with it. Let's do this. But understand, We know a lot of people that have gyms. I want to get in the ring. I want to do whatever. We can sell tickets. I want to have the door. I'm just saying, if you want to fight me, I'm with it.
I want to host them.
I just want to make sure that I don't have to catch assault charges and I don't got to go to jail, because I lived a lot of my life going through that. Thank God for expunged records and all that fun stuff that Denver County will allow you to have in life. But I'm just saying, guys, like, part of me says that family cannot be blamed for the things you do. When I was in school, I can't blame my grandparents for the fights I got into. I cannot blame them for any of the messed up things that I was doing. However, my parents were fully accountable for creating that kind of animosity that I was carrying around in my heart every day when I went out into society, for making these situations where I got to defend people singing Yo Mama's on crack rock songs. And so instead of me being able to just laugh it off because my mom really was on drugs at the time, I'm physical. I'm beating the shit out of the first person that says something because now you done touched the nerve. So so that's the kind of person that I wound up having to be. And so when you grow up doing that, you're like, okay, you learn to suppress it. You learn to say, all right, you can't say that to everybody. You can't spaz out like that. But it's still there. Yeah. You just wind up being this person that holds things down until you get a chance to spaz out.
Yeah.
For the most part. So I don't believe in holding things in anymore, because of the fact that when I spaz out, I'm going to hurt somebody. Like, it's going to be, that's why I meet my child. We talk about things immediately, because she has a parent who will hold it in, and you will mess around and take that out on your child. You're upset because they've done this, and you let it go. They've done that and you let it go. And so now finally they've done this little thing and you spaz out. Next thing you beating the shit out your child, or you kicking them out, or you doing something like that because you failed to address these things as they were pissing you off as they came along. And so that's a trauma thing for those of us who grew up with any kind of trauma type stuff. That is a trauma response to raising your children. So those of us with trauma histories, just understand we are raising our children in a thing of trauma. For those of us who are raised by our grandparents instead of our parents, you are raising your children with abandonment issues out the gate. So you're gonna move a little bit different with the way that you raise your kids. You're gonna be already a little bit more angry. Certain things, you're gonna be a little bit more hypersensitive to certain situations. And yeah, especially things like abandonment. We're gonna take it more seriously when people leave our lives, or not. Or we're more dismissive because of the fact we didn't have parents. We might not give two shits whether or not you come and go, because that is a trauma thing. When you are raised without parents, you don't care anymore about certain relationships. So people will come and go in your life and you won't care. And your children will see that. And your children will pick up that people can come and go. But it's unfortunately, it can come back and hurt you, because if your kids feel like that, one day they're going to feel like you are also disposable. That's something my dad is handling with right now. Me and him are currently not talking, and it phases me none. I don't give two shits one way or the other, because of the fact that I was hard raised with him in and out. Not there, but I don't care. So again, the way you raise your children definitely affect their behaviors and the way that they act in society.
Yeah. But I can attest to that in the sense of, like, one of the things I held in a lot, and I have this complex now where I feel like I can knock out anybody in the room. And every now and then there's that 300-pound motherfucker that I'm like, maybe not, but I'm gonna try. But I have this thing where, a lot of that stemmed from me having, the person that I know as my father and always known as my father, and people coming up and saying, well, that ain't your real dad. Your real dad is so-and-so and so. I've never met who my biological father was. And to this day, I don't care to meet the dude, because from what I've heard, he's not the type of person I want to be. He's not the type of person I've ever wanted to meet. But I'm okay with that, because I had this, people would say it to hurt my feelings. And of course, at the time, I'm like, yeah, I feel like I can whoop everybody's ass. I still feel that way, because try me, nigga. But it was more so of a thing where, as I got older, I realized, a lot of the people who were saying that, they didn't realize, this man who wasn't my father was well aware that he wasn't my biological father, took care of me and left more for me in his passing than I could have ever imagined. And I'm looking at other people's fathers who I know around that time that I'm like, yo, daddy wasn't shit, though. And this is your biological father, you know what I'm saying? So to me, it became this thing where I always had that complex of, it's fight or flight type of thing. You know what I'm saying? But because people will develop that. The world is an ugly ass place. So a lot of times whenever I address that, I had somebody say that to me recently. Dude that made the pull up threat. That ain't your real dad anyway. Yeah, but your daddy wasn't shit. So I guess we should trauma bond because both of our dads aren't here anymore. You know what I mean? Like what are you trying to get at there? So
sorry.
But as the example for the person I consider my father, he left the example for me that me raising my son, when I'm dead and gone, I want to be able to, I don't want my son to be able to come to the funeral and be like, my daddy ain't shit. So he set the bar high. A lot of people don't realize how high he set the bar until after he was gone, and it's like, man, them is some big shoes to fill now. You know what I mean? So
we have to discuss this situation. We got to poke this a little bit apart because I promised at the beginning of the show that I would address this situation on behalf of a family friend. So I want to tell you guys what happened as far as this, and we'll kind of discuss this a little bit. As far as she said, she raised her daughter right. This is we'll call her Miss R. She raised her daughter right. As far as raising her right, she means she has good grades, she's respectful, all that fun stuff. Made sure that she did everything correctly. She said her daughter grew up to be a hellified deadbeat. She's a deadbeat. She don't do shit. She don't work. She scams people. She's defrauded the Medicaid system. She's got 4 kids that she does not take care of. Like, not one of them. Don't have none of them. But then she's getting benefits for all of them from the Medicaid system. This is the kind of person that turned out, not only that, but she fights. She's physically abusive towards both her parents. And it's
Are drugs involved?
No, there's no drugs involved. Her mom said that everything was cool, and all of a sudden during sophomore year, she just seemed like a complete change. And she said by the time it was sophomore year, she saw a change in her, and that it was too late.
Could be mental health.
So, with that being said, our parents really to blame for the way their children act. Now, keep in mind, this woman said that she found out around sophomore year that her daughter was going whatever way that she was growing. Now, this woman is someone who has 4 children now. She don't take care of none of them. She scams folks. This, that, the third. You heard what I said about her. She's basically a fuck-ass person. And so her mom asked me to talk about that on this show since we were addressing these things and find out, she wants to know, is it her fault? Where did she mess up? Is there any way to help out? Because mom, of course, is now responsible for her grandkids now because of the fact that her daughter is such a fuck-ass person in society. And so she asked me to talk about it and find out, what is it? Is it something that she did? Is it something that could be prevented? Like, what do you do when you've done pretty much everything and your child still turns out to be a fuck-ass person?
I think it goes back to that mental health part of it, like, because mental health isn't addressed. Like, a lot of people don't know the signs to look for as children, when their kids are kids. They don't know what to look for mental health-wise. So by sophomore year, it could have been something that had just manifested at that time because mental health is crazy. Like, I have a degree and I still don't understand the shit because the range is so wide. Yeah, so it could be a mental health thing. And in cases like that, no, you can't blame the parent if there were no signs previous. Now, if she was a little kid and she was doing weird ass shit and the mom just thought, oh, she's just being a kid, because they won't diagnose kids. They just won't. At all. And our healthcare in that matter sucks balls. And I know this from a personal matter. So if it was just a matter of, she didn't see the signs until sophomore year, and then there were just no address to, oh, maybe you might need to get some help, then yes, the parent is to blame. But if she hid her mental health until she was an adult and was like, let's let my crazy run free, then no. But as a parent, you're going to always think that it's you that fucked up somewhere. Mm-hmm. So in that particular circumstance, it is circumstantial. Mm-hmm. But that poses the question, when do you intervene and wonder if it's mental health or not? I'm very transparent with my kids, and I'm open about mental health. Like, nigga, you're crazy showing. Go get that checked.
And not to cut you off, Rukus, but like where do you find the difference between mental health and accountability? Because
I just think her ass just don't want to have her kids. I don't think it has anything to do with mental health. I've watched this same person I've watched the same person. If you can defraud the Medicaid system, you do not have a mental health problem. See, understand, I know the Medicaid system in and out. You know what I mean? Like, this is something people went to school and got degrees for. This is, to defraud the system, you have to be very, very smart. You have to be very calculating. You have to know how to actually, to even get benefits is a full-time job itself. For people who are out there struggling to get resources, it is a full-time job to sit there doing applications and actually pursuing the help that's out there. So for someone who is actually able to defraud the Medicaid system, maybe you can get a regular job. Oh, boo-boo, you can buy your daughter some Pampers. See, you can keep your hands off your mama. See, there's just certain things that I think it's their fault because they condone the shit if it's sophomore year and you realize your daughter is fighting you physically, I blame you. Understand, my mama, again, I come from a physical ass family. I said some smart shit to my mom. I think I was 13. And I woke up about 5 minutes later off the floor because my mama I'm not having it. I understand to keep my mouth to myself, keep my hands to myself when it comes to my mother. So for as far as that goes, and as far as her mother, this girl having the audacity to put her hands on her parents.
To think that was okay.
To even think that is okay, I definitely blame the parents. Because if your kid don't have the fear of God of you, you're fucking up.
But crazy people don't fear nothing.
Sure ass ain't crazy.
People don't fear shit.
You ain't crazy. She ain't crazy.
I might be out here wishing a nigga would from time to time, but I promise you, when my dad was around, this man, he was a skinny man. He had that dad strength to punch, but I've never tested my dad because I knew how many guns anytime some shit has went down, I've seen my dad go get guns, and in my mind it was like, I don't want my dad to fucking shoot me or eat my mom beating up grown ass men.
But you have the same mind. You're not crazy though. Like, you have to think of the mind of a crazy person.
She ain't crazy. She's just a deadbeat. We ain't gonna keep excusing this bitch. Understand?
Right? No. Understand? I totally get that.
I know mental health patients. Again, that's my life. That's what I do. However, this bitch ain't mental. There are no.
So she's just
there are several behavioral health concerns with this person. However, mental health is not one of them. This is something where they know how to Section 8. They know how to move the system. Mental health is not going. The way this person moves and to still do these things without having your children, but still have the presence of mind to make sure that you update all your stuff.
That's borderline sociopath.
To keep having children and keep adding them to your case and opening things, and that is not okay.
And sociopaths don't give a damn about nothing or nobody but their own self.
They move in a way that's like, they move in a way that they know how to get what they need to get out of people until that person figures out, oh, this motherfucker's getting over on me. Then they move to the next person.
So your child is a sociopath. What do?
You give them help right away.
Yeah.
How do you help a sociopath?
You send them to a therapist. You cannot help a sociopath. You cannot.
That's why I'm asking. Like, it's a trick question.
You have to.
It's a trick question.
It is. But I've dealt with sociopaths, and it's hard because there's a very fine line, and as a parent, it's like, fuck, you're crazy, and you're gonna always be crazy. But am I going to nurture your crazy and allow you to just be crazy without any consequences, or am I gonna explain to you, like, look, I get that you can't help this because they can't help it, but at the same time, you can still instill morals in people, and they have that choice.
No. Once they let you take your helmet off, once they let you remove that helmet and put you out into society and trust that you're going to behave yourself the way everybody else is, you don't get any more passes.
But look at it like this. There are sociopaths out there who don't go on to become serial killers. And then those are the ones whose parents was like, look, you might need a little bit of help. So let's figure out how to help you. So they go on to live normal lives, even though they're still sociopaths. They just aren't extreme sociopaths. And then you have the ones whose parents was like, oh, I know little Timmy was cutting the heads off of cats, but I just thought he was inquisitive.
No,
and then
it's people like. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No,
cut you
you're
off.
good.
That's exactly why I said I blame y'all. Like Again, I'll catch all the smoke from this. Like I got my cousin is in this same situation. Like I blame society. My cousin has no business having any more children. Period. When family has to keep stepping in and taking your child every time you have a child, if somebody has to take that child from you or that child winds up anywhere other than the mother, and it is a general consensus that child doesn't need to be with that mom, it's a problem. Every time, if you're announcing you're pregnant every year and everybody's like, fuck.
After the first one,
again, it's not okay. And in these situations, society has stepped in and allowed these people to be completely unaccountable for their actions. Like this woman literally leaves town, has a baby, comes back to town, leaves the baby in town, and then goes back out of town. Who the fuck has that kind of life that allows you to move that way? So again, it's society. When you let people do that, they're gonna keep doing it. So it's 2023, she got 4. I'm gonna predict a baby coming back being dropped off by 2024-ish, by August of 2024. It's not gonna be carried in town. It will live here though.
It will live
here though, but it will not be carried here. We will not see the pregnancy. You will not see this process, but you will see the final product, which is the child here, probably with Miss R, because that is her concern as it is now, that she keeps having to wind up having to raise these children because her child keeps having them and dropping them off.
Yeah,
I've seen it though. Like my adopted brother was diagnosed as a sociopath, and we realized in this lack of accountability for his actions. I remember one of the last arguments we had was, nobody ever showed me anything different, and I'm like, dude, you realize like how much money I spent trying to get you into sports, trying to show you different things, and I didn't like the coaches. You should have shown me some different coaches, and I was like, or you don't. Being a nigga who's never played basketball, you don't go to practice trying to tell the coaches how to do their fucking job. Like little things like that, or even popping up recently. And I'm just trying to deliver a message from God to everyone, but nobody wants to hear my message because I'm too arrogant with the message. I said, well, look in the Bible and tell me how many scriptures there are about arrogant servants. I can show you way more about how many servants that are arrogant, that are shamed. I can show you how much arrogance is shamed in the Bible, way more than there's any praise for arrogant servants. So don't invoke God in this is my message, but I'm too arrogant for people is how they feel. So it's just certain actions that he had over a course of time that he doesn't believe what he's doing is wrong.
And it's that part. It's you can't make a crazy person understand or have accountability for their actions, because in their mind, they not doing nothing wrong.
She's not crazy.
She could.
This one's not crazy.
I'm
let's get that out the way.
But there's still no excuse.
For everyone else,
though.
I agree wholeheartedly with what they're saying. For this particular fuckwad, she is not crazy. She is simply a deadbeat ass individual who refuses to be accountable for her actions. To the point where her own mama said to talk about her bullshit on this show because she has done everything she can, yet she has raised a fuck ass person and she doesn't understand how that could be possible. Like this woman works her ass off. Like as far as goes, a job every day, works and comes home and takes care of her grandkids every day, and she's raising someone who refuses to work at all. Like when you lead by example and your example means nothing, like what can you do? Like what advice do you guys have for those who are trying to lead by example and it's not working? Because we know there's kids out there beating the shit out of the kids. They're shooting, they're doing whatever. And their parents is like, I didn't teach them that at home.
But where it comes in is like, no, you may not have taught them that, but you see that they're doing it. Are you addressing it now? Mm-hmm. Or if you're not addressing it now and you see it's happening, because some of these kids are still at an age where they can still be molded. Having majority boys, like we couldn't raise our daughter like we raised our son.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. And it's some of them are still at an age where you have control. And if you're just absolutely doing nothing, then you are to blame. If you're just like, I can't do anything now, they are still moldable. You still have control. Take your control, because without it doing so, you're to blame. Period.
I'll say this: some people just ain't shit. Some people just ain't shit. You know, like one of these, what a lot of people don't realize, this is men, women in general. Your kids are not kids forever.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? A lot of people get caught up in this mind frame that you had this baby and here they are, and you act like they're not going to develop their own thoughts of who you are, their thoughts of who they are, who the other parent is. Y'all really don't realize that as they get older, they're going to develop that idea of what this person did for me versus what that person did for me, and they're going to have an understanding of who ain't shit. So it's
outside people.
Yeah.
Including strangers.
Very
strangers
much so.
have a big influence on a lot of these kids.
Yeah. We are highly, highly over on time, y'all, as far as that's where letting us know in the back. So we still got a whole lot. We never even talked about half of the stuff we were supposed to discuss. We got on a tangent about other things that just needed to be discussed instead. So we might come back and do a part 2. Maybe. You down?
Absolutely.
Say we'll see about that as we finish this up. Because, yeah, we still got to talk about it. Because, again, my strong belief is that if your children are out here fucking up in society, you are, I'm going to say, I'm going to give you 80-20. 80-20 to blame. So we can talk about it further. I'll catch all the smoke if y'all don't agree with that. But I do believe that if your children are pretty much fucking up majorly and repetitively, that's the main part. Majorly and repetitively, it's on you as the parent.
Get your kids some mental health.
That part.
Help if they need it.
That part.
Early.
So I want to thank y'all for tuning in. But What Do I Know podcast. I'm not going to tell you what we're talking about next week because we don't know. So, but make sure you still follow us and like and subscribe to But What Do I Know on the AHRR network. And you can also follow me at RUKUS 303 or Rukus the Queen, like those who are watching here on the bootleg version at home. So at that part. So.
Don Trey Smith on the regular page, Trey the artist page. Womack was here 83 on Instagram. Don Trey on TikTok, and you know, fuck Twitter. I don't remember no more.
And how did they reach you?
I am Kaj Barber on all social media platforms. Let's keep it easy. KajBarberArt.com. You can find all of my good stuff.
There it is. Kaj, that's K-A-J. She has 2 of the only pieces that are in my home. I'm saying they're dope. So anyways, again.
Bought the piece I wanted. I was
told
so
you I still got one.
Yes,
I got one.
Okay, I got to get that one for the living room now.
Thank y'all for tuning in. Come back next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Peace.
What's happening, y'all? This one half. Shit, running back. This your boy Trey Smith, and guess what? We are on our way back for a new season of But What Do I Know? Me and Rukus, and we bringing our dreads. She's bringing the yams, and we gonna be here every Wednesday. And what platforms are we on this time?
I was supposed to introduce my own yams. Anyway, we out here on those platforms for y'all to follow us to make sure that I got yams and hips to go with these yams. Nigga, the yams fun. Hashtag RUKUS Yams and Hips. Yams and hips. Okay.
Well, cut the check for the yams and the locks. I need mine to get long like hers. That's what we gonna do. Give us your monies.
Where does the money come from? Like what?
It's gonna be drugs and strippers everywhere. We gonna do all that bullshit. She don't know it. I didn't discuss that with her, but that's cool. That's cool. That's what we do. Anyhow, check on us every Wednesday to make sure we okay. He won't stop laughing.
Take 98.
Okay, so let me put the new one.
That's my line.
Oh, that's your line.
That's my line.
Okay. Shit. I'm not gonna add that line. All right, here we go.
Hey, what's up, y'all?
So what's the real power behind unity in community?
Man, just the brilliance that we have, in our community when we create space to work collaboratively and work with one another. Man, that brilliance comes to the surface, man, and we can't be stopped. So I think, just creating events like this for all of us to participate in and finding intersections for us to work together, man. We got all the answers to all our problems right here in our community, man. That's it.
We got the answers. We got to unite right here to solve the problems that we got right here.
America would be great again if our black people come together.
What's the real power behind unity and community?
It's the village, right? So each one teach one, iron sharpens iron, right? So there's a lane that I run very well. There's a lane that you run very well. We put those lanes together, something magic happens.
We got a highway.
Right. You see what I'm saying? And so we've got to infuse that. We got to support each other. And, you know, people talk about the crabs and the barrel mentality. I don't know if I subscribe to it or believe in it, but what I do know is when we're all lifting each other up, everybody does better. You know what I'm saying?
Unity is really lifting each other up. For real.
There it is.
I appreciate that. That's good.